The votes are once again in, and we have Silver as our third hero added as a part of the Old Gods, New Blood Major Update in Deadlock. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and today, as always, I want to do a quick update with everything there is to know about Silver. She's got a really, arguably the most unique kit so far in Deadlock, so I want to take some real time digging into her abilities, looking at melee animations, weapons, zipline, all that good stuff. Let's get right into it. And so like we said, gliding into the Cursed Apple next is Silver. And I just want to talk first off, talking about this character's art. I mean, what a sick design. Everything from like the overall just color palette. You got the shotgun shells and the belt loop there. You have some handcuffs, you know, by the waist there, kind of interesting. But even like just moving around, the physics of this character looks great. You have the tail moving, the long hair moving. The slide animation looks pretty cool. Got the gun out there, looking sick. You got some melee animations here. Pretty standard. Heavy melee looks a lot like Seven's kick, but just kind of that like athletic high kick style. Super cool to see that. Slide animations, like I said, look really cool. Just the overall, I mean, this character looks sick. We're gonna get into abilities here in a second because they are wild complicated, but let's take a look at the weapon first. So this is a 5 ammo gun. So it's gonna do 39 base damage, maybe 30, yeah, 39, 38. And then headshots look like they're gonna do 64, 63. You do reload 1 ammo at a time, so we'll get more into the weapon in a little bit, but let's take a look one at a time at each of Silver's abilities, because there is a lot of nuance to these, considering that her ult is a transformation that happens instantaneously. Let's take a look. Instead of going kind of 1 to 4, I actually want to start with Silver's ultimate because it's such a core part of her kit and kind of how everything else functions, and everything kind of revolves around this Lycan curse ability. So let's take a look at this. Passive, dealing damage, generates bloodlust, increased at low health. At max bloodlust, you automatically cast Lycan Curse. Active, so when this happens, instantly transform, gaining increased max health, move speed, and stacking fire rate on enemy heroes, and replacing your abilities and weapon with their ferocious versions. So you gain 350 bonus health, your move speed goes up, your fire rate goes up by 80%, that scales with Spirit at a 0.25 rate. And then the upgrades for this are you get bullet resistance and spirit resistance, plus 3 move speed, meters per second move speed rather, and 125 bonus health. And then on hero kill, you refresh abilities, duration, and transformation heal. So you can kind of stay in this form longer if you're able to chain kills. But the question is, how do we generate bloodlust? Well, that's done by obviously doing damage. So let's kind of go through and let's see what the curse looks like before we get into the other abilities too far here. So I'm just going to spam this little guy over here and make sure we're doing a lot of damage. And then the curse beckons. And now we are in our Lycan Curse here, and then from there you have, like I said, 3 abilities. You can see the timer going down. There's a bite, a charge, and a kind of a dash to the side, I suppose. So that is what Silver's kit. I kind of spammed everything really quickly there, so now that we've seen it all, let's kind of break down what each of these abilities actually do mean. All right, and we'll go through everything in Silver's standard form to start. So we'll start off with Slam Fire, which is the 1. Instantly reload your gun, you gain bonus fire rate and deal bonus weapon damage based on the target's health for a limited number of shots, but suffer from reduced accuracy. So you get 3 max shots, plus 300% fire rate, 4% current health as damage. Okay, that's interesting. But minus 25 weapon accuracy. That's really interesting. And this is on a 20-second cooldown, lasts for 5 seconds. As you upgrade this, you get reduced cooldown, increased weapon damage, and if you hit all shots, deal 10% current health as damage. So let's take a look at what this kind of looks like. So it says reload your weapon, so I'll fire a couple shots there. We will reload. And that instantly, by the way, procs Lycan Curse. So it does not take much damage to proc the ultimate on Silver, but that is what it looks like. I mean, you only saw it in quick succession there, but that is what the one ability looks like in human form. And I'll quickly kind of show that again since it did just kind of instant proc the ult there. But we use the 1, and we get the ability to fire shots pretty quickly, and then it kind of goes back to normal. So this is just a quick way to, again, burst fire weapon with Silver. Seems like weapon damage is going to be a huge part of this hero's kit, especially considering the melee potential and what I can only imagine is going to come in the ult form, the Lycan form. So let's take a look now at the 2 ability. This is Boot Kick. Dash forward and kick the enemy first, or kick the first enemy hit, rather, dealing melee damage while pushing yourself off and marking them. This can happen every 21 seconds to the cooldown. Base damage is 45. Shooting the marked target deals spirit damage and removes the mark. So that is basically a way to instantly proc that. Has a minus 6-second cooldown with your first upgrade. On hero hit, restore 2 stamina, and then on hit, minus 25 damage for 5 seconds at max upgrade. We'll take a look at what this looks like. So that is a sick animation, by the way. What the heck? And then if I shoot them, it does some spirit damage right there that I think you can see the kind of coloration of. The voice lines are sick, though. And there it is. So that is a really cool little, like, punch back disengage tool. We don't really have anything like that. I do like how it... So you can dash in any direction, but if you make contact with a hero, you will get the kind of push back and knock back yourself. So there is a little bit of a skill shot there. Otherwise, this is just kind of a dash ability that you can use. Like I said, on a 21-second cooldown. So you are going to want to hit this one to get max value out of it. Take a look now at the 3 ability for Silver, and that is Entangling Bola. This one has a 20-second cooldown. Throw a bola, dealing spirit damage, applying slow and preventing movement abilities, stamina, or jumping. So we have basically a tether here, more or less. This does 40 damage stock with a 1x spirit scaling, so pretty decent spirit scaling here. This could be a decently impactful ability. Again, the spirit damage base is pretty low, though, so this probably is going to be primarily for utility, just worth being said. On hit, minus 20% move speed and a 1.5 debuff duration. As you upgrade this item, you get minus 25% more move speed reduction, plus 75 or plus 0.75 second debuff duration. So it basically makes it 2.25 seconds there. And then the bola ricochets to 2 additional targets at max level. Super, super interesting one. Let's take a look at what this looks like on our dummy friend over here. So there's the bola. And you can kind of see the duration of the slow there. Nothing too crazy. Well, let's go look at our moving friend to get a little bit better of a sense here. Alright. So you can see his movement slowed there. Pretty basic ability, just a way to restrain people. Probably to make it easier to, let's say, hit your 2, and then, you know, reload your gun. The curse now beckons. Now let's talk about the Lycan curse form, the ult form of Silver, and we'll go through each for abilities in exactly the same way. So now we'll go through all the abilities much the same way for the ult form of Silver, starting with Go for the Throat. This happens on a 5-second cooldown, which again, cooldowns I would expect to be far lower in the ult form because you're in it for a limited time naturally, so you're going to probably be able to chain abilities quite a bit faster. But this one, you can deal melee damage to all enemies in front of you, receiving a heal for a portion of the damage dealt. The damage is increased the lower health they have. So this one starts at 75 damage, scales at a 1.5x rate with melee damage. So this is where you can see the weapon investment melee damage already paying dividends. 8% missing health as damage, 40% lifesteal. Then as you upgrade this one, plus 30 damage, plus 25% lifesteal, and plus 5 missing health as damage. The way these ability upgrades work, I assume, is that if you upgrade one category for the human form, it will upgrade both abilities in that slot, is how I'm guessing this will function. But in any case, let's take a look at what Go for the Throat looks like. So the curse will beckon. Now we are in our Lycan form, which, by the way, I haven't really looked at the animation. Super cool looking. But this is what the bite looks like. Very basic, very simple. This is just going to be your classic, like, high damage output, kind of conal ability in front of you. Like a lot of, I feel like heroes in this archetype have an ability like this, so it makes sense to see, but it is cool to see the first ability for Silver and ult form. The 2 ability in ult is called Mauling Leap. This one actually does have a 16-second cooldown, so already eating my words a bit about cooldown, you know, being a little bit lower there. I would have expected this to actually be a little lower, but in any case, you leap forward, mauling the first enemy hit for melee damage. They suffer from reduced bullet resist and take spirit damage over time. Damage is at 95, scales at 1.9x with melee damage there. So this actually, again, all of these abilities are going to be so juiced by melee damage output that it's going to play into this character's builds for sure. 15 spirit damage a second, scales at a 0.15 spirit rate. Again, for those who are newer to the game, that basically just means that you don't get as much out of your spirit investments for that particular category as you might with other things in the game. Then you get minus 8 bullet resist. As you upgrade this, you get 10 damage per second, 9 reduced cooldown by 9 seconds, and 12% bullet resist. So we'll take a look at what Mauling Leap looks like. I'll probably also go ahead and let's take a look at Tail Whack. This is the 3 ability in ult, so I can just kind of show them both off. 18-second cooldown, smash enemies around you, dealing spirit damage. They suffer from disarm and a brief slow. 45 damage, as you can see there, 1x spirit investment. So you'll get a lot more out of your spirit investment for this versus this, for example, if we're talking about just damage, Mauling Leap, no, rather. Yeah, you get the disarm here, minus 30% move speed, slow duration is 1.5 seconds. As you upgrade this, you get plus damage, plus additional minus 40% move speed is crazy, and then a additional second disarm duration. So, and this is cool to see. This is very, very candid, obviously, first time seeing all this. It is cool to see that kind of your movement shutdown abilities are the same in ult versus not ult. So you have this like entangling bola here, where the purpose of that is to debuff and slow and hinder your targets. And it's cool to see that in ult form, you're doing the same thing. That way, if you want to play like a more utility build, you're still able to scale into that, assuming, again, that you would upgrade both forms, 3 abilities the same way. So let's take a look at the 2 and 3 in ult form here. So the 1 is a bite, the 2 is this leap right here, a mauling leap, I think. Then you get that slow disarm. Man, these are such sick abilities. I'm just like at a loss for words. Then there's the bite again, just so we can see it. Then you get out of ult form again. Those abilities are called Mauling Leap and Tail Whack. So that is kind of the full kit of abilities for Silver, at least as she is day 1 in Deadlock. Overall, though, what a cool hero. Like I said, I mean, the model is so sick. Definitely gonna have like a certain kind of fandom, you know. Silver, just the aesthetic and the tail is gonna attract a certain kind of fan to play this hero. But either way, I'm super stoked. I think Deadlock really needed kind of like a Nidalee type for those that play League of Legends, just like a multi-form engage tool. I think there needs to be more like dive initiators in Deadlock. We have a lot of catch heroes and a lot of tanks and a lot of kind of backline DPS, but not necessarily a lot of like dive on top of you and fight at close range, really brawly kind of characters. I feel like she'll play similar to like a Billy in that way, where you want to initiate, you want to fight in close, scrap around, throw in melees where you can. And I'm going to talk about it in a future video, but the parrying system in Deadlock is going to become even more important when you look at heroes like Silver and how to play against her and all that good stuff. But those thoughts aside, let's take a look quickly at Silver's lore and get into some really early speculative build ideas for this new hero. Silver's lore right away is quite a bit shorter than especially like Graves. Graves had like a whole story. This is 1 paragraph, so we get a little bit of mystery with some of these new heroes. I thought they would maybe all be a little bit longer, but cool to see that we're still getting kind of like some vague hero backstories, assuming this leaves room for Valve to tell us more about the heroes in the future. But Lila Silver is a mess. She drinks too much, she smokes too much, and the less is said about her personal life, the better. But despite Silver's flaws, she has managed to carve out a career as a successful bounty hunter. And while she would like to think that her successes are solely because she has incredible intuition, the fact she's a werewolf doesn't hurt. So we don't know anything about how she became a werewolf or anything else, but all we know is that Silver is a mess. She's a bounty hunter. She drinks too much, smokes too much. Silver, I feel like we get along in day 1 right away. Super stoked to have you in the Deadlock cast. Now let's just very quickly take a look at potential builds for Silver. We also get another look at Silver's model on the buy screen. But this is kind of the default build for Silver. A lot of greens, a lot of oranges. So let's talk about why this to be the case, obviously. So you're going to want to play this hero as a kind of initiator. It seems like we were going in looking for burst damage. And think of how you might play, and these aren't one-to-one comparisons necessarily, but how you might play like Billy or Drifter, where you're looking to get in. Calico is another example of these kind of like close range assassinators kind of characters, but I expect Silver to be much more bulky, especially considering, you know, the health gain of her ult is a significant part of that ability. But in any case, you are going to be looking for ways to get around quickly. You can see stamina being important right away to, you know, Valve, who I assume put these together. Enduring speed, those kinds of things. But you also are seeing late game items like Vamp Burst, Crushing Fists, Juggernaut, I would think makes a lot of sense. Colossus, I could see being an item on this hero as well. And then all of your melee items are probably going to factor into Silver's kit at some level. But like I said, this is one that you get a lot of value out of melee damage right away, which obviously scales with your weapon. So anything you can do, especially like with an item like Crushing Fist, I assume this is going to be a really, really core item because of all the stats you get related to melee. That this is going to be the way you play Silver. So if you're the kind of person who likes to be a disruptor, get in folks' faces, do damage, proc an ult transformation, and then be even more tanky and aggressive, Silver could be a really great hero for you to try out. All in all, though, I like to kind of give an idea that I know what these heroes do from day 1, but in reality, until I get some games in, until the community gets some games in, we really don't know exactly how this hero is going to be played. We can theorize based on abilities and all that good stuff, but at the end of the day, we have to get in some games and learn this hero because number 1, Silver is so complicated. anything with this level, I mean, think about just the amount of flavor text you're reading with all of these different abilities and how much is at play, how many stats are being affected, all that kind of stuff. There's no doubt the Deadlock's newest hero is probably its most complicated so far, so I'll be really eager to see in the coming weeks what the community is able to come up with this one. How's everyone going to play Silver? Is there going to be like a Spirit Nuke build? What is there going to be? I would be curious to hear what you all think in the comments about this one. What do you think about the new hero's design, or her playstyle potentially, her lore? Let me know everything in the comments, and as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you all with the 4th hero on Thursday. Until then, thank you all so much for tuning in as always, and from our house to yours, we'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.